Right, so as you can see, I'm taking charge into my life once more. And to me at the moment, taking charge means creating a lot of content. Creating all kinds of content for whatever reason. I don't know. I just create content, and I think the reason I'm creating it is so that once people do realize that there's something to learn here, there is enough stuff in here for them to choose and to listen to and to spend time with. Because I think that's quite important, that if you have a product that you want to sell, that there's also something like that you're hiding enough stuff for them to figure it out for themselves, because I think that's really what YouTube is about or should be about, to direct people into finding stuff and to look at what other people are doing and then to find meaning in that. And now I haven't really done a lot of advertising except for whenever I meet people that seem to be interested in whatever I have to say. Sometimes I just say it to them, and then when I have the feeling I got them hooked, I slip them my card, which is just my name and my website. Because I literally want people to figure out for themselves what they are missing. But first, of course, you have to sort out your life. And for that, you have to spend time with other kinds of content. Content that helps you to free yourself. Because the way I've seen it is that YouTube or any other platform, they don't want you to think about how you feel. They just want to distract you. They want to stand in the camera and fart or burp or just make an idiot out of themselves so that you laugh at them, but also that you keep coming back to them, because, you're not telling people how they can have a laugh, because you don't know how to be happy. You just know how to make a complete idiot out of yourself. And what most people do on YouTube is just a dead end, because they don't know what they're doing. They're just being idiots, and people just laugh about them. Like, there's this guy he's just doing crazy things, like building things that he's probably never going to touch again. Like a tunnel that took him 3 years to build. Sorry, but what a waste of time. What a waste of time. And do you know why he does that? So he can make a video out of it. And then he builds all kinds of vehicles, and then he drives them for one video, and that's it. He's never gonna touch that again, because he's gonna build something else. And I don't know if I should find it good or bad. I think it's quite self-destructive, because if you see him on a bicycle with some kind of, turbo booster attached to it, and then you probably have to say, and no helmet, speeding along at I don't know how fast he got. But that's just very self-destructive just to get some likes, right? I rather sit in the safety of my room, or I go outside for a hike and give people a few moments of peace as peaceful as I can be, right? Instead of hammering them with more and more content. And that's why, in a way, I don't mind that some of my videos are 6 hours long, because I know why I'm doing this. Because you have to understand, there are people out there who are so desperate for a friend, who are literally on the verge of committing suicide. And maybe these people have family, have children to take care of. You don't know that. So I'll rather give them the chance to spend a little time with a person like me who does what he does, but in a somewhat quiet way. And what I've seen, for instance, from TikTok and YouTube Shorts, this is driving you nuts. I mean, you can watch this for 10 minutes, and afterwards you won't know who you are anymore. Because it literally fucks you. It's too much, it's an overload of nonsense. These people are all idiots. And they're showing it. They're just wasting food for 30 seconds of fame. Like, they literally, some people, they make food that they're never going to eat, They just film themselves dishing it up, and probably after they've shot it, they're not gonna eat that. They are just doing it so that other people look at it and say, "Whoa, that guy's crazy." No, he's not crazy, he's just an idiot. But some people get off from that, that they have the feeling they're doing something extraordinary. Well, I mean, maybe I can quote Morty on that when they're at this therapist's place, who's also counseling people that are, have trouble with eating shit. And then there's this image hanging there. And then there's a guy eating a hot dog and it says courage. And then Morty says, "What's courageous about eating a hot dog?" And that's when the family counseling group is sitting there, which is the Smiths. And when they go in, the therapist comes and flips it around. And suddenly it's like a happy family on the picture, which makes no sense at all, because why does she flip it? Yeah, but the next person that comes, right? I mean, what's courageous about eating a hot dog? Yeah, sure. I mean, there's people eating shit. To them, maybe it's courageous. To me, it would be just stupid to eat a hot dog. Because I don't eat the bread. And I don't eat, like, whatever hot dog means, Why is it a hot dog? I don't get it. Maybe, because the sausage looks like a tail, right? There it could make sense. Well, then you could also call it a hot cat. But maybe because the tails of cats are, I don't know. That makes no sense. Anyway, so you see, taking charge of your own life means to figure it out. You have to charge yourself up with whatever helps you to feel good about who you are and what you're doing. And when you're working at a job that you hate, but you also have a family to maintain, then you have to think of ways that you either are okay doing that job because you're also doing other things in your free time, which you may consider to be hobbies, which may be like painting or pottery, or maybe like, I don't know, slacklining. You have to teach yourself some kind of skill that you can look forward to. Because when you're at a job that you hate, Going back to your family and helping your wife changing diapers isn't really something to look forward to. So the way I see it is that it's important in some way, to keep yourself busy, but also to take the time to rest, of course. So taking charge, a bull isn't just charging at everything all the time. And some people, they're so angry, they just have a go at anyone, they're like, wah, wah. And ultimately that's just going to injure you a lot. Like, I've had a lot of emotional injuries just by being unaware of what I was feeling. And that made me very vulnerable because I had a lot of emotional wounds that were like gaping open, like oozing, festering around in myself. And I was just stuffing it with overeating and stuff. Or running around, right? Overtraining. Seeking one high after another. But I was always being sucked back into this feeling of depression. So yeah, until I faced what made me heavy, I couldn't do shit. Well, I could, but it was a struggle. And it's good it was a struggle because it made me strong. So because I had depression and suicidal thoughts, it also allowed me to face these emotions and to outgrow myself. And to do that, I had to take full charge ahead into an unknown future that scared me a lot. Because, believe it or not, but when you're persistent at creating content online, at a certain point, people will be unable to ignore you, because if you manage to keep creating content, and this content is all somewhat unique and different, and you manage to do so without killing yourself, eventually they will have to accept you as a person that's apparently going to stay, and that seems to have no end in creative potential. Whether that is making images, writing books, doing stuff with his voice, doing stuff with his hands, doing stuff with his body, and being quite knowledgeable in all kinds of fields, and at the same time more or less relaxed. Like, if you manage to keep doing that, people will eventually pay attention to you. That's how I see it. The trouble I had, of course, is that I never knew how long it would take. So I could see it coming around the corner, right? And sometimes it was too much to even think about it. And so I ran away from it again and just masturbated. Until I got to a point where I felt like, okay, now I've worked out of myself enough stuff. And I also did enough stuff that I feel safe about doing what I'm doing, right? I felt safe making music. I felt safe writing books. I felt safe producing those images. I felt safe recording videos. I felt safe speaking freely. I felt safe with my spiritual practices. I felt safe around people when I felt on the inside like I was about to explode, like I was like completely riled up. And I could still talk to people and have a normal conversation, while on the inside there was pure madness, like a tornado. Like, literally, sometimes I feel like there is a life-sized bull or like a gigantic dragon inside of me, spitting fire, like raging like the ocean. And there were times where I just basically channeled it into people's faces by throwing a tantrum. But now I manage to, I don't want to say control it, but to channel it is a form of gentle control where you take all the energy that is inside of you, because anger has a lot of potential, but it can also destroy you if you channel it against yourself or other people. So if you have a lot of anger, you have a lot of energy. You just have to channel it into the right things. And I started channeling it into my art, right? I mean, a bull, if you look at a bull, he's super chilled if he's standing on a meadow and he has all these cows around him. Like, he's super chilled. He's gonna walk around, he's gonna eat, he's gonna take a piss. Sometimes he's gonna mount one of those beautiful cows, slip his penis into their softness, make babies, right? That's all he has to do. Until somebody comes and maybe cuts off his balls or kills him or whatever. But, until then, let's say it's a free-roaming bull. But if another bull comes, or a younger bull, tries to have a go at him, I mean, he shows you another side, which is, I'm gonna fuck you up. I'm gonna tear you apart. And this is basically also what it means if you start taking charge of your own life. It means some people are gonna land in the dirt if they are trying to stop you. And I've had lots of people trying to stop me, because when I succeed, they will feel, like they failed. Like, just recently, there was somebody telling me again, because he can see that I'm just being crazy creative. Like, it's nuts how much stuff I create. And then he told me, oh, why don't I work somewhere else? What the fuck? Because in a way, people don't want you to succeed. Because if you succeed, they think they failed. But, who says that? It's just your feeling. I'm just trying to succeed. Because you have to succeed. Every child should strive to succeed its parents. But often parents try to keep their children small because they actually don't want them to succeed. They want to be parents all their life. But at some point, you cannot learn from your parents anymore. That's just how I see it. At a certain point, you have something to teach your parents. But for that, you have to make experiences, outgrow yourself, and take charge of your own life. And people who really make an effort to stand in your way just have to go flying. Bam! But for that, you also have to have the emotional stability to do that. As if you don't have it, and you tell people to fuck off out of your life, you will feel bad, and it will torture you, and it will nearly destroy you if you keep blaming yourself for protecting yourself by telling people to fuck off because they take you for granted. Right? It's like the last woman that said to me, after she contacted me again, and she had the cheek to say, she was like at the bottom. And then I talked to her. And then she said, I don't want to hold on to this, but it's just an important example. And she said to me, well, that doesn't mean we're going to have a romantic relationship again. That's the moment where I just exploded. Because she wasn't the first one that said that to me. And women do this to play with you. They toy with you. I'm in charge of this relationship now. Just because you want it doesn't mean I'm going to give it to you. Well, then fuck off. That's what I said to her. Well, and she's been angry at me ever since. That's just how it is. But you see, if you're trying to toy with me, I don't have time. The woman before that one, which, I don't really consider them all women. To me, they're all girls. Yeah, I don't know. That sounds all high and mighty from my side, but... Right? The woman before that. She was just convinced she was the best woman ever. Well, maybe you could be if you wouldn't think that. Because just thinking that just makes me lose my interest. I mean, it's cool if you know that you're good in some things, but, in her case, she was just living in that fantasy. She was relaxing herself on the idea that she was the best woman ever. That's how she was living her life. She never looked at anything that was bad in her life, at her flaws, that she didn't have it together, that she actually craved a man to make her feel good. And the reason, in the end, I think that sometimes these things collapsed was because I was trying to put in a lot of effort, and they wanted me to put in a lot of effort. Like, that's a lot of women that I've met. They want me to do all the work, right? If it's about sex, they want me to take charge of their sexual desire. I'm supposed, if they feel bad, I have to sleep with them. I have to go down on them and perform my duty, and then they feel good in the end. But that's not how it works, Because when you start growing and you become more masculine or more a man or whatever, you want people, that you can spar with. And that means these people need to be in charge themselves. Because otherwise, they're just gonna be hurt all the time. Anything you say will push some of their buttons, and then they're gonna blame you for something. It's your fault. Right? All the time. And that's just, that is what breaks your flow. And when you're trying to take charge, everybody who stands in your way, will cause you, it will startle you, it will suck up your momentum, and then you cannot take charge because you're never even getting to the point where you are charged. Because in order to take charge, you have to charge yourself first. And then you start running. And when you're running, you just try to keep running. And then you try to meet people along the way that may be also running. Because they have to be able to keep up with your pace. And if not, I don't know, maybe you run around in circles with them. But, that's going to keep you trapped. So it's better to just keep running, and once in a while you visit them or something. But if you're full with energy and you're running, don't stop all the time. Just keep going. That's how I see it. And that's why I got rid of all the people that pissed me off, that sucked my energy. They tried to make me into making them feel good because they're too lazy to do it themselves. Yeah, and there's of course consequences. And the consequence of having such a mentality is that you're going to spend a lot of time alone. And that time alone is going to allow you to build your own life. And that means you're going to suffer a lot until you've done a lot of suffering and you've figured out what works for you and what doesn't. And then you can just try making that a habit, like making the things that work for you a habit so that you stay in charge. And that means that if people come and say to you while you're trying, to build your own business, and they come and they tell you, oh, why don't you go work for, I don't know, these people? You say, fuck you, and leave me alone. Because they don't want you to succeed. Because they're afraid that when you succeed, they're not going to see you anymore, which is maybe at this point something that you're actually looking forward to. Like, there's literally people here, I just don't want to see them anymore. Because I've had enough of them, of their bickering and their bullshit and their laziness. And as much as I understand why they suffer, I mean, I had so many reasons to suffer. I had so many reasons to suffer in my life. I could have just kept it that way. But I said, okay, I'm gonna really suffer now. I'm gonna fucking suffer the shit out of me. And I did that. I suffered and I suffered and I felt miserable. Until something changed. And now I have so much stuff to do that sometimes I get annoyed of it. But mostly, in a way, it's a blessing. I just have to make sure that I also exercise in some way and that I take care of myself. So yeah, to me it was important to make sure that the people I don't want to have in my life stay away on their own accord. But sometimes, I wanted to get them back, but then they didn't want to anymore. Well, I can't help that. Sometimes people are very reluctant to stay away from me no matter how nasty I am to them. I'm not really nasty, I'm just honest the way I feel about how they treat me, right? And so I just block them. If they don't get the message and they keep coming back with the same shit over and over again, I don't have words for them. All I can do is I can just block them. Because they just don't seem to want to take charge of their life, which means I have to distance myself from them so that they start taking charge of their own life. And that's a hard part as well, because that means I'm basically kicking away everything that I could lean on. So I learn to lean on myself or on my faith or on my trust or however you would like to call that. And sometimes, yes, that's quite hard. Because maybe that's women that you thought you wanted to love or friends that you thought you had or whatever. And suddenly you're just yourself. But that also means, I don't have a problem to go hiking on my own anymore. Because the way I see it, a lot of men, they need all these groups to go cycling or hiking or running. I hate such groups. Because these are all men that feel like they need all kinds of people to feel good about themselves. And I really cannot stand such things. Anyway, I'm like a lonely warrior. A bull doesn't play poker with other bulls. No. He goes and fucks all the cows on his meadow, right? I don't go around chasing cows, I wait till the cows come to me. That's the mentality of a warrior. You don't go around chasing women, because that makes you dependent. You want to be dependable, which means you are there and you do your thing. And whatever woman likes that, and whatever woman, wants to dance with me, well, let her come then. And if that woman is it for you, if that woman is your dancing partner, you'll just keep dancing with her. But that also means she has to adapt to you, because you're the man and you're in charge. You're in charge. She's just joining you. That's important. The cows gather around the bull for protection. If you're not a bull, then be something else.